Hello and welcome to the Liverpool Connection podcast. I'm Daz, your host. I've got Steve with me, as always. And the reporter down on the ground is Glenn Kewley in the middle of everything. And today we've got a special guest, Keith Salmon. He wrote a wonderful book called We Have Dreams and Songs to Sing. Hiya, Keith.
Hiya, mate. How are you?
Good. Living the dream.
Aren't we all?
Probably
a bit warmer where you are.
Yeah, it's roasting here. You know, it's horrible because, you know, obviously over there you got to stay in your house or your garden. Yeah, it's still pretty bad in Texas, but yeah, it's about what 106 today.
Yeah, I was on the lake this morning, so sorry.
What, you sorry for being on the lake? Why?
Well, I mean, you're talking about the heat, so I was just letting you know I was on the lake. My sister had rented a boat this morning and
all right,
invited us. So
yeah.
No, she's posh. I'm just here to drink the beers.
You're just using a boat, yeah, that's it. Yeah, we're lucky here. I think we're 56 or 57 days now without the case. But our borders are closed, which means obviously you can't go across and see the Reds even if you were playing in front of the public. But yeah, we're pretty safe. Life's back to normal. It's quite nice here at the moment. But obviously, I've still got family back in Liverpool, and you know, it's not that bad. But I think it's still not in a great place yet.
Yeah, I think with all the pubs that you know just opened, I guarantee there's going to be a spike in like 2-3 weeks. You know, because I mean, it seems like nobody back home wears a mask.
It doesn't look like it. I think they've got to on public transport now, haven't they? But I think the government in Britain have been a bit wishy-washy with advice, and they're going, well, if you want to, and if you don't want to, it doesn't matter, and all that sort of stuff.
Same here.
Yeah.
Bozo the clown, and then you know this one. Yeah, it's yeah, whatever. But wanted to ask you, like I always ask guests when you come on. So why Liverpool? You know, when do you fall in love? Yeah,
Dad was a Red, and he was a big Red as well. You know, it's like he went everywhere with them when I was, even before I was little. You know, he was at Worcester City in what was it, 1959 or something like that, when Shanks broke up. When Shanks was brought in because they were in trouble and all. You know, like he followed them from the second division days, and it was always like he went everywhere with them as a young man. And when we come along, he still sort of went everywhere, but not as much. So, like when I grew up, you know, he'd go to the match on a Saturday afternoon. He'd work in a bakery all week long from 6 in the morning to 6 at night. And, you know, we'd see him of a Saturday morning. He'd work all day Sunday as well to get overtime to pay our way. We didn't have a lot of money. But Saturday afternoon was his to go and watch the Reds play, go and have a couple of pints with his mates and his brother-in-law. And that was his thing. That was all he did. You know, he's one of these guys, put his pay packet on the table on a Friday, and my mum would, you know, run the house with the money he brought in. But he'd go and watch the Reds. And then obviously when I got old enough, he started taking me. And even so much like I learned to read by probably from Liverpool, because I didn't want to know as a kid. I was too lazy to learn. And I kept going, how did Liverpool get on, Dad? How did Liverpool get on? He goes, if you want to know, here's the Pink Echo, the Saturday paper. And I learned to read. You know, the headline was Liverpool had won. You know, it was like who played well, who played bad, who did this, who did the other. All my math came from the league tables. You know, 2 points to the win it was at the time. I knew how many games Liverpool had won, how many they'd lost, how many they'd drawn, goals for, goals against. My education was Liverpool. And all I do is thank God he wasn't a blue, you know what I mean? Because I'd have been in big trouble. I'd never learned anything.
Well, you would have learned a lot of swear words. I know that.
Well, to be fair, I know a lot of swear words.
And you wouldn't be on this podcast either.
Probably not now, as an interloper. But yeah, you know, it was a family of Reds, and you know, when I was old enough, he started taking me. You know, he took me in. I think it was 1972 was the first time I went. And the first time, well, I started going to reserve games, you know, when they used to have them at Anfield, and if you were a season ticket holder, you got in free, and kids got in free. So my childhood was running around the main stand with like 2,000 people in it, watching all these legends like Hughie McCauley and people like that who actually went on to coach at Liverpool, but they never really got close to the first team. But the first team, when I started going, I'd like the likes of, you know, there was Emma News, Toshak, Keegan, there was Chris Lawler, you know, that sort of breed. And, you know, during my first year, Shanks was manager as well. And it was like, it was a great time to be a Red. You know, they weren't sort of romping everything, but they were in a chance. He was just starting to build his next great team. And the first game I ever went to, they beat West Brom 2-0. And I think they scored a penalty. And if they hadn't scored the penalty, I wouldn't have seen a goal because I was just transfixed by the cop. I was just watching the cop all the time because it was still that like seasoned massive humanity at the time. And it was just brilliant. I just loved it, you know what I mean? And then ever since, I followed in my dad's footsteps, you know, when I was old enough, I started going away. And, you know, by the time I was 16, 17, I was travelling around England watching Liverpool quite regularly. And then through the 80s and 90s, I was hardly missing a game. I think for 5 years, I didn't even miss a game, home or away. And it was my life. That was what my life was. And it was a great life. You know, I've had a great life watching Liverpool. And a guy once said to me, isn't that a bit sad? I went, no, have you ever done it? Have you ever gone and done this? This is not actually about the night. I think people mistake it sometimes. It's about 90 minutes. You know, what would you travel to the end of the earth to watch Liverpool play for 90 minutes for? Not about that. It's about what we're doing now. It's about camaraderie. It's meeting people, having great experiences and shared experiences. And it's a great life. You know, if you follow a football team, you can have the best of times. You can have the worst of times as well. But actually, you know, it's easy following Liverpool. You know, we've got a chance to win stuff. We've got a great history and all that. But if you follow any club, you should be getting good credit for going away to places. And, you know, I always think about seeing lads who are United fans or Everton fans, you know, if they're in Europe or something like that, people turn the telly off and think, oh yeah, it's over. It's not. You still got to get home. And there's always a story that comes with those travels. So yeah, you know, I thank my dad for being a Red and the passion he made, and now I'm passing it on to my lad Charlie, 13 now.
Oh, that's a great age as well, you know, because I went when I was 5, you know, with my granddad. So I thank the Lord like he took me. But yeah, I mean, for a 13-year-old lad, you know, to be at Anfield just looking around the stadium has just got to be like one of the best feelings in the world. I mean, even for yourself as well. Do you still get the whole, you know, the goosebumps when You'll Never Walk Alone comes on?
It's not just that bit actually. When you go in and you go in the bowels of the ground, you go into, you know, where the concessionary bars are and all that sort of stuff, and you go up the steps and you come out the steps, and all of a sudden you see the light at the head of the tunnel, and you come out the tunnel and that green pitch is on the thing. The buzz I got at 7 years of age when I done that for the first time with the pro team, I still get that. So even before You Never Walk Alone comes on, I still get that. And You Never Walk Alone has a special resonance now. My dad passed away about 5 years ago, and actually, you know, when he had his funeral, obviously the song that, you know, he goes into the church with is like one of his favorite ones, but the one you come out with is You'll Never Walk Alone. And then when we did the cremation in the crematorium, the song you say goodbye with is You'll Never Walk Alone. So every time you hear that, it has that special resonance now. And every time it gets you, you know what I mean? It gets the lump in your throat. And I know when we were in Madrid last year when he won it, and he'd done it at the end when the players in front of us, the only person I was thinking about was him. You know what I mean? And just go, he'd have loved that. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we've all had those shared memories and, you know, those shared experiences. And I was lucky to do it with my dad, and I said, I'm lucky to do it with Charlie now. And he gets it. You know, he really gets it. You know, and I think what's nice about Liverpool now is there's lots of youngsters around. There's a very young following for Liverpool at the moment. But they're all going, "Oh, you've seen things I've never seen." You go, "I've never seen what they've done this year." So they're going to see some fabulous stuff going forward. And the last 2 or 3 years, they've just ripped it up, haven't they? It's been one of the best times to be in the Red. And actually, I must admit, I said to Mike yesterday, I thought I'd never see them win the league again. I thought, I'm only 54, and I thought I'd never see them do it before I die. I'm only 54, and I think, how negative is that?
Well, we've been so close, I mean, like last year, I thought we'd actually like Pip City. I did. That's why I went home last year. For the last match, I really thought we were going to do it, and I just thought we'd let it go. Actually,
well, I thought Leicester would have got a point, and then Company broke that scream, and I was thinking,
bastard.
At some point, you just go, if your name's not on it, it's not on it. But I think people saying, 30 years ahead. It's not at all. 30 years have been all right, really. It's like we've won the European Cup a couple of times. We won cups and we've had some fabulous seasons. But that was the one thing, the baggage that we just need to clear from ourselves. You can't be the nearly men in it forever. And like Jürgen and the boys have done amazing. And even until he was 25 points clear, I was still bottling it. You know what I mean? Even though they were miles ahead, everyone going, "Oh, it's got it won," and you go, "No, not until it's mathematics."
I think it's also interesting that from the American standpoint, that when people mention 30 years of hurt, most of us have not been following Liverpool that long because, really football hasn't been available here in the United States that long. But, we'll also go and say, "Man, we've won European championships. We've won, we won the FA Cup. We won some, the League Cup." So there, you say that, but then you also have some trophies that you've won. I know that it isn't from a British standpoint, but from the American standpoint, we're saying, "Hey, a trophy, give us a trophy every couple of years." There's plenty of teams out there, Spurs, that have not, Everton, have not won, have even come close to winning a trophy in 30 years. So, so it's a different mindset, but it's just an interesting one to think about as well.
It's interesting what you say there, Steve, because modern football has this fascination of finishing in the top four, just finishing the top four. That's all it is, And football got invented in 1992 when the Premiership started. It didn't. We've got a rich history. But this bit about top four, and we're happy with top four. We're not happy with top four. It's not acceptable. You win a trophy. I'd rather win a trophy than finish top four. Yeah. But the Champions League drives everything now. The money drives everything, and that's the problem in the game. Is it's all about money, and it's like people say Liverpool haven't spent much. Liverpool have spent a fortune over the years trying to win it, and they spent it badly. And no one can say we haven't spent any money because we haven't. But what he did this time, he bought Alisson and he bought DVD, and that was it. There you go. The final piece in the jigsaw. How many final pieces in the jigsaw have we had over the last 30 years? We've had loads of them. And I think go on.
So I was just going to say, I think what you say is a really good point. If you think over the years, how many times we've had like a season where we've like won something. Like obviously last year we won the Champions League. This year we've won the league. Next year we're probably favourites to win the league. One of the favourites to win the Champions League as well. And in the past, when we've won something, so we might have won an FA Cup, but then we've been terrible in the league. Do you know what I mean? We won the Champions League that year. In 2005, we won 5th. So we've never really built on anything. Even in 2001, everyone's like, next year's going to be the year. We finished second to Arsenal, but we still had quite a few points off. We weren't really competing. But now it's just so different. You've won the Champions League, you've won the league, and you've got to think that this Liverpool side, if he stays, the next couple of years, we're looking at really
the mentality.
Yeah.
It's the mentality. I always thought that like when Brendan Rodgers got close, they never invested properly. They bottled it. It's like it just went missing, and he lost Suarez, and he replaced him with was it Balotelli and Ricky Lambert or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
And I love Ricky because like he's one of us, and he come and play for his club. But not at the standard. I think he even admits that. But buying getting Balotelli and Brendan going, I can change him. Well, you're not going to change him. Balotelli, it comes with all the baggage that Balotelli has, and unfortunately that lad's talented, but he was never right for us. What he really needs to do is go out and go big, and he didn't. So this time, I think personally, I think they do need a few players, but they need quality. And I think when you look at the bench, and I think with Leeds coming up, you're probably going to lose Milner, to be fair. Lallana's going. You've got experience that Klopp relies on to close games out. And I think maybe he will get Thiago. Maybe he will. But I think, one or two astute acquisitions will be good. So actually, it's time to invest. Not necessarily invest in money-wise, but invest in experience-wise. And then you've got the kids who are coming through, like Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott and Nico Williams. And there's some good quality there, but they're not ready for the full campaign.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's time to invest really in either experience or money-wise or a bit of both.
I wanted to ask you, Keith. So, what does winning the league mean to you on Wednesday?
To be fair, Wednesday will probably be different. Wednesday will probably be tears. The night they won it, when Man City got beat to Chelsea, it was the strangest feeling because it was more about relief than excitement and enjoyment. And maybe because I'm here and remote from all, we had a Zoom call, me and my mates and that, and they're all bladdered in gardens and all this sort of stuff. And here's me sober as a judge. I just had an operation, so I couldn't even drink. So I'm drinking water, celebrating. So it wasn't the same. Whereas what we had this plan where I was taking a week off and just staying in Liverpool and getting smashed with my mates, and it just never happened. But for me, it was like that's done now. We can do it, and we couldn't even watch the telly and celebrate because we had the biggest thunderstorm the Isle of Man had ever had for 3 hours, and it wiped out Sky. It's nothing compared to Florida or Texas. When you get a thunderstorm there. This is like, whoa, everyone was out filming it because they'd never seen anything like it. But the Sky went off, and everyone's going, oh, I'm watching it on Sky, and I'm going, I'm not seeing anything. So I had to rely on Twitter. We could still get Twitter. But yeah, I think there's more relief. But I will celebrate, and I'll celebrate it properly with my mates when I go across. And it'll be a different time. And I'll go to the parade, and I'll take Charlie to the parade. Because he missed out on a Madrid parade last year because I was in Madrid, so he couldn't go to any of that. So, you've got to be there for something like that. That's the thing I remember as a kid. You probably do yourself, Dad, is going to a parade and watching them come around with this big shiny thing. There's nothing better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is one of the best feelings in the world. I mean, like I was telling Steve yesterday, I was 19 when we last won it, and I was just, at 19, you're just kind of starting your life, and now this year, next month, I'm 50, so I'm just like, man, I never thought I didn't think it would take 30 years to win it again.
If you spoke to us in 1919 and said you won't win it next year, you go, yeah, all right, yeah. You can't win it every year. And I think they've done amazing 1990 to win it because it was obviously the year after Hillsborough, and they've gone so close with, the last minute goal for Arsenal and stuff like that. But that night when Arsenal won it, it didn't matter. That's for me, when you were at Hillsborough and stuff like that, it just didn't matter. Football, in many ways, didn't matter. Winning the cup was what mattered. So when they lost, it was like stood there and we all applauded Arsenal off, and I think they were appreciative of it. And it was just one of them nights where you go, and they pulled the tripe out to get there. So the next year, you went, all right, we'll go again. Life went back to normal in many ways very quickly. The football, they had a really good season, and they won it, and it meant something. But when someone says to me, do you remember 30? I don't remember it. Even though I Googled it, I remembered a few games, which was, I think, was when they beat Palace 9-0, and then when they beat QPR to win it. And there was, I think, the last day of the season, Coventry away, we won 6-1. And we went to Coventry away, and we had a ball, and, Coventry was always great, and there was a proper celebration, sun was out and all that. That's all I remember, because actually for a year after Hillsborough, I just walked around in the days, And I think the club walked around in a daze, and I think it started to fracture. I don't think people gave enough credit to, what people were dealing with and how they were keeping the club afloat. And it was probably understandable that it sort of struggled afterwards, because there was a lot of pressure on them players, and obviously on Kenny and Kenny goals. And I think I was looking back on how did they cope and do that when I couldn't even cope with day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
I was walking around in a daze, and this year I've got counselling on it at long last after 30 years. 30 years ago they didn't give you counselling, but I got some counselling here from a therapist, and it was brilliant. And it was it helped me deal with it, because it's been something you carry for a long time, Hillsborough. And those players never got counselling. Those players were the ones who went to every funeral. They dealt with relatives. They were looking after everyone else. They were looking after everyone else but themselves. So to actually win the league the following year is an amazing thing we did. But it was goal. I don't think we really appreciated what happened to the football club afterwards. But as you say, we had so many false dawns. You can't blame 30 years and that, but it took a long time for the club to be stable again, I think. But that's where we are now. So the 30 years ago, you look at it and go, that's for them guys up there. And I know there was thunder and lightning, and it was from my dad and my uncles, and they're all up there now. They're all dancing on the tables, having a party. That's why we had the greatest thunderstorm ever. But yeah, so there was a lot going on when they won it to actually think straight.
So how do you feel about, like, I mean, obviously there's no fans on Wednesday. Do you think outside Anfield's just going to get just as packed as when after the City Chelsea match? It's got to, right?
Yeah, I think it's inevitable, to be fair.
Yeah.
If I was over there, I wouldn't. Personally, I think we played the game on the lockdown. I've got my mum's in her 80s now. We've got relatives who would be at risk if people went to a big gathering and stuff like that. So personally, I wouldn't do it, but I can understand why people did. And I think when you look at it, when Liverpool done it, it was blown massively on the media and stuff like that. Leeds done it the other night. There's hardly any mention. And it was like the 2 or 3 days before it, there was 500,000 people in Dorset. And they were all heading to the beach, and you were going from there. Liverpool just got the worst mentions. It's easy. It's easy narrative for the news organisations. In a nicest way, I hope people don't turn up. I hope they stay at home and watch it on the telly and do like that, and have their own celebrations in the garden. And actually, because it's like the Copperberg issue, it's like the bottle that hit the City coach. You know what I mean? It's just some other things to beat us up with. And it's pretty tiring that, everyone goes, oh, we could get something wrong on them again. And, the stuff the live buildings the other week, that's just daft. Absolutely daft.
I actually think at least 50% of those people, or even 60, weren't even Liverpool fans. It was just, they just needed to get out and party, and Liverpool winning was just an excuse.
You could be right. I must be personally, I probably wouldn't go to the percentage. I think most of them were Reds who were there, because I know a few lads who went down but left earlier, and it was like, but just anyone and everyone to just get out, because the lockdowns are really mentally hard to deal with. And I think especially when they're seeing other people all over the place. Like parks in London were rammed. Formby Beach had been rammed for weeks, I believe. So
yeah.
it wasn't the first time there was a public session, but that outpouring of joy was fabulous to see as well, but it just wasn't wholly appropriate for me.
I think as well, with regards to the peerhead stuff, it's like when Keith, when you go and watch Liverpool and you go to like a square or whatever, there's in general 90%, 99% of people are there have a good time. You're always going to get 1% of dickheads. It's just numbers, isn't it?
Numbers in society, isn't it?
Like you say, exactly. So you're going to get most people going down there in general, like you say, for the good reasons, to be a part of something, and then a couple. I don't know what absolute plan pot for, I know I'm going to shoot something at the Liver buildings. It's actually
And
insane.
not
But
just them, the ones who eggs them on, normally we self-police, if you go to
yeah,
squares, like I've been to squares in Barcelona and Madrid and that, and someone goes, oh, don't be a dickhead, just stop it.
yeah,
And his mates go, oh, you're getting out, because obviously, usually the police would move in sooner, and they didn't move in, I think, that night. So actually people got a bit braver and a bit more stupid, maybe.
yeah,
And it's just, it's so unnecessary. You could have just stood around and drunk, which I think the vast majority of people did. But when you started firing fireworks at the Liver building, and they were thinking it was funny because Everton own it, and the fact is, though, it's a signal of our city. It's like what our city's built on. It was funny because my daughter asked me this morning. She said, "What's your favourite place in Liverpool?" I went to Pier Ed and the Liver buildings because when I see that, Glenn will know this. When you get on, when the boat comes in the Isle of Man to Liverpool, it docks right outside the Liver buildings, and so when you're coming in, I always go out on deck to see it, or at the front of the boat. And then when I'm going away, coming back, I always go on the back of the boat to see it leave because I love my city. I love being from there, and the Liver buildings are the most amazing, man. And it's got this on the top of it. Got the Liver bed on the top of it, and it's fabulous. For firing fireworks at it, that's just that. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, he's going to get a massive fine, and he's probably going to go to prison. Just for being totally daft. Yeah. So hopefully they learn.
I didn't see it.
Hey Keith, I wanted to ask you. First of all, thanks for coming on to the podcast. But your first book was published in 2009. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
And so, how does we've had some other authors on our podcast, and it's always what interests me is how somebody like yourself, who was a successful banker, decides, hey, let me write a book. Can you take us through that thought process? Because that book covered quite a few years. So, I mean, were you taking notes for all those years, or you just kind of went back and, jogged your memory and started writing?
Well, the successful banker, I think I'll leave that one in the ether to see if my boss says that one. Because of what you call successful, I've managed to live for 20 years. And as a matter of fact, I'm just getting made redundant. So it's the best feeling in the world, to be honest with you. Because I'm going to go and fly and do something else. I'm going to finish my book. But no, I worked. The bank was like a good avenue, and 2009 it was published, but it started writing it in probably 2005. The catalyst was, you got to remember, I left school without any English qualification, any English language qualification, because I was Scouse, because Scouse and English didn't quite match. So like when it said write a story, and if it didn't have loads of C's and K's in, I was done. You know what I mean? People Scouse accent, like chicken and all this sort of stuff. So when I went to Istanbul, I went on my own, and I was meeting my mates there, and I did this journey. And it started like, it was from the Isle of Man. It took 6 days. It took 5 planes, 4 trains. I walked across a dodgy border, and I took a couple of taxis and all this, all to get there and back. And then at half time, you're thinking, oh my God, you know what I mean? What am I doing here? But obviously, we had a glorious end to it. So on my way, I started keeping notes, because funny things started happening, even getting off the Isle of Man. I didn't have my ticket until 15 minutes before I left the airport. I had to go to the post office on the way to pick my ticket up, because it was supposed to arrive by special delivery on the Saturday morning, and it never arrived. And I was absolutely crapping myself. So I had to get my ticket on the way. I'd been in the post office at 6 o'clock in the morning, knocking the posties up, going, "You need to find me ticket. You need to find me ticket." So on the way, this postie said, "Go home, get changed, get your bags packed, and as soon as the post arrives from Liverpool, I'll give you a bell." And he rang me up and said, "Oh, it's here." So I was like that. Oh, thank God. And it cost me 54 quid to send it from Liverpool to here, and it was only a £15 ticket. I was livid. I had the ticket with me. And so I went to the airport, and that. So already I'm writing this down, going, oh, I'm already stressed. So I went via from here to Luton, which is the north of London, and then from Luton down on the train to Gatwick, which is the south of London, about an hour and a half on the train, and then from Gatwick to Thessalonica, stayed there, and then I think it was about an 8-hour train journey to the border with Turkey, and then I walked across the border. So I'm keeping notes of all this stuff. Because I'm on my own, I've got no one with me. Well, I thought I'd keep notes of it. So I have this brilliant journey, walk across the border, stay in this town called Edirne, which is in the north of Turkey, and no one spoke English. And it was great. I had a kebab, you know, and I had a kebab, taught the barman how to make the legendary slippery nipple, which is a drink that's famous in the Isle of Man, which is Zambuca and Bailey's, isn't it, Glenn?
Oh.
Like, you just, yeah. And he thought, honestly, at the end of the night, just like, it was you're right. So, like, everyone has them in the Isle of Man. So I taught this barman how to make them, and he taught me some phrases in Turkish. And pretty much the only one I remember was thanks, which went teşekkürler, and it just sounded like testicular to me. So I just kept talking bollocks. So basically, you know, I do all these things, so I'm writing them down and that. So I go there and back, and then when I come back, I've got this like notepad of like loads of notes, and I'm sitting there giggling to myself. And Nikki, my wife, says, "What are you laughing at?" I went, "Oh, this is dead funny." And she said, "You should write it down as a short story." So I wrote it as a short story, and she read it, and I was like that going, "Oh, she probably won't find it funny," because sometimes you've got to be there, haven't you? And usually when your wife's involved, it's definitely one of them where you're telling your story about being with your mates and having a laugh and particular and all that, and she's going, "That's not funny." But she said, "Oh no, it's a good." So she said, "You should show it to a few other people." So there was a couple of ladies I worked with, and they were in book clubs. So they were saying, "Oh yeah, we go to a book club and all that." I said, "Well, I'm written this. Do you want to have a look at this?" And it was quite substantial, a chapter, because there was a lot in it. And they read it and they loved it. And they went, "Oh, you should write a bit more." I went, "Oh, well, it's not for me." She said, "No, you've got a proper skill," because they all felt they were on the journey with me, which was great. So I went, "Okay." And I was traveling a lot for a living, so I had a lot of time where all I had was airports, lounges, planes, hotels. You know, I was traveling for 7 or 8 weeks a year. And at that time, I thought, well, I'll just write instead. So I started writing. So I wrote the chapter about going to match for the first time, about seeing the green grass. And then I wrote a chapter about cup finals. And it was there was a chapter about going an away match. And then there was Istanbul. And then I thought, I plucked the courage up and I wrote about Hillsborough. And then I thought, if I write about Hillsborough, I've got to write about the Heysel disaster as well, because I didn't want to sanitize the history, because, you know, I was there as well, you know what I mean? And there were two different things, and that's what I wanted to get over. There were two different things. So in the end of it, I probably had about 14 short stories. And as the years went on, all of a sudden I went to like Milan and Madrid, and that's a few more experiences that have become, you know, like towards the end of the book. And I was traveling to South Africa, so I wrote about South Africa and, you know, the feelings of meeting Reds on the road, and, you know, the passion, because, you know, Steve probably gets this more than you guys, is, you know, it's a life stream to go to Anfield, isn't it? To go and watch the Reds at Anfield is a life stream for people. If they couldn't do it once, they're made up. If they do it 2 or 3 times a week, we took it for granted generally, because we used to do it every week. So when I started meeting these people, and they went, "Oh, if you write a book, I'll buy it." So I did that. So I put all these stories together, and my brother, who's now a professional writer, he's a playwright and an author, he said, "Oh, all good books have these like flows in them. They go to like peaks, and then they come down, and so you lead into like a great story, and you lead out. So you have to find a natural flow. So you know, your natural big stories are Hillsborough and Istanbul, you know, and then at the end of it, what happens next?" So I got that, and then I had a few proofreads of it, and people loved it. So I went, "Okay, I'm going for it," because I was always going, "I'm going to write a book," but I never really believed I was. And then all of a sudden, I told everyone, so I had to do it. And I spoke to Tony Evans. He was football editor at the Times. You might know Tony off Twitter, and he writes for The Independent now. And he was really generous with his time. I met him in London, and I met him in Milan. I thought, you know, we'll go, "I'll meet you in Milan." That's just what we do, you know what I mean? But he was really generous, and he said to me, he said, "You can either go with a publisher or self-publish." He said, "If you want your storytelling," he said, "self-publish it." He said, "Give it to a publisher, they change it, and you want to have violence in it and all this stuff." because the genre of book at the time, we all had to have football hooliganism in, and I haven't got any, never had a fight going to match ever. So why would, my book was useless for them. So I self-published, and then once I got the first copy of me, I went, oh Jesus, I'm going to be judged now. But actually, people loved it, and Glenn's got one off his nan. Do you know what I mean? I love that. That's brilliant. I sold hundreds in myself. I think I sold about 4,500 myself overall, and probably 1,500 went through my hands, and that was hard work. But the most wonderful thing I've ever done. But there's some knobhead who gave me a 2-star review. I'm going to kill him whenever I find him. Everyone else loved it except for this fella, and he went something like, looks like it's being written by a primary school child. And it's funny because everyone else going, everyone else going, I love the way you wrote that, because actually they all went, I really feel you, and actually I've got mates like you've got mates, and we did this. A lot of people used to go, oh, you know what we did? They went, so it sparked them to have their own thoughts and thoughts. I think that's a clever way of writing, personally. So when I find a man with 2 stars, I did put on the bottom of his review, can you share your book that you've written with me? And he never
what I enjoyed about that book is that you didn't really sugarcoat Heisel. You really framed it, and you didn't sugarcoat Hillsborough, and then you didn't. And what I found, one chapter I found very interesting was your chapter on South Africa. You're very stark on the descriptions of the city and how you felt while you were there. And I don't think you'll find that in a lot of the books where it's really true feelings. And so we appreciate you sharing those. And but our understanding is you're in the middle of writing another book now, right? Can you share? Do you have a working title on it, and when it's coming out, and all that good stuff?
I'm going to be lazy on the next one. I'm going to say we still have songs, and we still have dreams and songs to sing. I can't think of anything better. I've actually got 3 on the go.
Nice.
There's the football one. There's a travel log in America, because I've been to America probably 25 times maybe.
Okay.
And I've been with loads of different people, and there's loads of funny stories because I've gone from east to west and west to east and all that, and everywhere in between. I've even been to Austin for an afternoon, and it was like I wish I'd have stayed longer because I ended up in Waco for a couple of days.
Ooh.
It was pre. When I went to Waco, the only thing that was there was the Texas Ranger Museum and Dr. Pepper, I think it was. And but I'd done a week in Texas, which was Corpus Christi and Fort Worth and Dallas itself. And I was one of those going, I'd love to go back. I mean, mates have been to Austin. Is there a motorbike circuit round by Austin? Is there
Grand Prix? Formula One?
Yeah,
Formula One's here.
Yeah. That's it, mate. Yeah. Well, some of my mates have gone to do, have been photographing that. So they've been to Austin quite a few times. And they always go, oh, it's a great place. I went, well, I just stopped for a cup of tea and a bite to eat, I think it was. And it looked a lovely place. But I think it's grown as well. It's grown really big, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. So is your football book just a continuation from 2010 up, or is it what's that focus on?
It primarily is a continuation because it's a life story. So to be fair, I'm going to roll it out every 10 years. I'm going to just go, this is what happened in the last 10 years. But I think what I was looking for, I spoke to quite a few lads and girls who bought the last one. And I said, what was it you found good about it? And what would you drop if it wasn't, if you didn't like something? And most people go, well, actually, it's the stories of the away travels, which are the ones that are, really have the hooks in because it makes them think. But so, there's probably more stories because I've been on more adventures and bigger adventures since then. But I want to update the Hillsborough bit because the Hillsborough is a thing that has changed and evolved, and you can look at it in different eyes, really. And I'm in a different place now this year than I was last year, for instance, and I can write about it differently. But I think there's also the advent of social media. There's some fabulous stuff on social media, like what we're doing now, but there's some terrible stuff like Twitter, which is toxic at times. And I really like Twitter because I met loads of great people through it. I met loads of brilliant people. But some of the stuff on it, oh my word, they need to clean it up. It's horrendous what people can say and what they can get away with, through being anonymized. So that there'll be a bit of that. But but also, the advent of being a father of two, I'm a father of two now. I've lost my dad. My dad, was a big influence on me, especially around the football. And, it's a bit strange living on the Isle of Man because, my relationship with my dad was not as intense as my two brothers because they were, living day by day, seeing most times that I'd see him, every couple of months, or when I went back to match, or when they came here to see me and the kids and the family. So our relationship became a telephone relationship with football. He'd come home after every match and go, the Reds were great today, or they were rubbish. And, we'd analyse every match over the phone. So still nowadays, I have that bit where, Liverpool's game finished and I look home and it doesn't ring. And that's the hard bit, you know what I mean? That's the bit where you go, he's not here. But, he's never far from your thoughts. So there's a whole chapter on love and loss, basically. And then there was a chapter, I think I called it Heaven and Hell as a working title, which is when Hicks and Gillette were around. My daughter was born at the same time. And it was like, there's your heaven and hell. Hell's them too. She's heaven, like. And it was like, life becomes different. You don't go to match as much because you got your responsibilities at home. And, I think I said to Mike yesterday, I said, football's the most important thing of the least important things. Because, at the heart of everything, Nikki, my wife, and Charlie and Izzy, my kids, but actually, I've got a wonderful wife who likes me to go away and watch Liverpool. And she doesn't get shoes, she doesn't get perfume, she just likes me out the house.
Yeah. You mentioned, your story started with your dad taking you to Anfield, and now you're bringing Charlie to the stadium.
Yeah.
And it's one of the questions that Daza always wants to ask about people's Anfield experience, and we like asking that question because it takes us back to when we first started, and then now we kind of see it from their perspective again. Like, so it's almost going from the kid when we went, and then we become the parent when other people are talking about their experiences.
Oh.
And everybody has a different perspective, and it's so interesting to bring these all together and to hear about them. And every time I hear somebody's first time that they've been to Anfield, it gets me all pumped up again. It brings back great memories. And so it's just, but you're right. It's something that's extraordinary that not everybody's going to be able to go to Anfield, but and that's why we always want to try to bring these stories out.
I love it when people go to Anfield. I love it. And I've met like some brilliant people around the world. So there's a couple of lads in South Africa. You get across maybe once or twice a year, and you're just like, I always try and get across to meet them as well because they were very good to me down in South Africa. I used to go and watch matches with them. I went watching matches with a lad in Dubai, a guy called Dave Padmore. And every time I go over, or every time I went over, if there wasn't a match on, he'd invite me to a barbecue at his house or something like that. And we're mates now. And I met him in Madrid last year, which was fabulous. But the bit about your kids going, it changes your match going experience, because all of a sudden you need to look after them. So actually your eyes are on stalks, you're making sure nothing's going wrong. But I had an amazing experience this year. I took Charlie to Madrid for the Atletico Madrid game. I went to Madrid, and it was his coming of age, really, because he was with the lads and we were in Europe, and he's been pestering me for ages. And, going to Europe for an away game, it's tiring. There's a lot of travelling involved, and you just go, can you do it? But, we flew into Barcelona on the Monday night. We were travelling all day, but we had tapas on the Ramblas in Barcelona on the Monday night. Get a fast train to Madrid on a Tuesday. Spend all afternoon in the tapas bars and having beers and stuff like that. And Charlie's hoovering this free tapas up, you know what I mean? Not saying a word, just taking it all in. And he's sitting there having a Coke with tapas. We have it at the match. And on the way to the match, we met, there was a big hulking man and his big beard, and he comes storming over to us. And he went, "You Liverpool fans?" And we went, yeah. And he goes, and he shook our hands, and it was like, like a proper handshake. When you go like that, whoa. And I came, and Charlie's like this, looking at the fella, going, "Oh my God, what's he going to do to us? Is he going to fight?" But he just wanted to talk football. But he didn't speak English. He had to have his mate who was an interpreter. So this lad was a Liverpool fan from Madrid, but he's interpreting for this Atletico Madrid fan. And it was brilliant doing, and that's what it's all about, meeting people. And we walked down the road and met another fella who was just off his case. He just had too much wine, but he was going to Liverpool to the leg at Anfield, and he was so excited. And Charlie was like going, "Aren't they nice people?" So even though we got beat 1-0, Charlie said, "I've had the most amazing time, Dad, and didn't we meet some nice people? And aren't you pleased for them?" I said, "Well, you are really, because they were all going, we will never beat Liverpool, so you know how much it meant." And we were in a tapas bar till 1:30 in the morning, because you can do that in Spain. You can't do it in England. In England, you take it out about 9 o'clock. But he had that, and you know what? I'll never ever forget that until the day he died. And neither will I. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, you go, he's earned his stripes. And from going to the bit where they're pulling on the arm, going, "Let's go to the match, Dad, let's go to the match." Going, "No, let's stay in the pub and talk to the lads. And my job is done. I've trained him well."
Nice.
Oh, I love that. I hope my girls, like, because they all of them, I've got 4 of them. They all know the songs, you know, and they like watching with Daddy. So I've got 2 4-year-olds and a 3 and a 2-year-old. So they're not really, you know, like when we won, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I was bawling, and they're just, "What's wrong, Daddy?" I'm like, "Nothing. We just won. We just won." They're like, "Won what?" Like the league, like a 4-year-old would know. But I can't wait to, like, you know, hopefully one day take them to a match and watch their faces light up.
Yeah, I took Izzy, my daughter, when she was 7, because she's going, "Can I go? Can I go?" And I bought her a pink and white Liverpool scarf, and she sat. We were in the family section just above the away fans, actually, in the Annie Road. A great view, as you could see. And she loved it. She absolutely loved it. I was like that. And she goes, "It was very loud, Dad, wasn't it?" I went, "That's because you're sitting next to me." So she's going, "No, it's very loud." And she goes, "I just want to go again." She's done it. It's ticked off the list. You know what I mean? And she walks into the house now. Me and Charlie are kicking every ball off the couch. And she tucks and shakes her head. She'd rather go to New Look and go shopping with her mum. And Mum would rather come to match with me, to be fair. She's going, "Give Charlie here. She never gets a look in."
I think what you say there, I was going to say, I think just listening to you speaking there, Keith, it's made me like so homesick. And you were speaking before about there's a lot of people. There's no. As I say, there's a lot of people in the States, like Steve was saying before, that never get to go or might go once or twice. And there's no doubt about it. I take it for granted. Like I went back for Kiev. I think that's when I seen you last. And then I think we went to, there was Huddersfield. There was a game before, and I just remember, like, it was just a Friday night game, and I just smiling the whole time, like got my mates with me. It's just like when you come out of it, when you come out, like the one thing I miss the most is being around my mates and being able to go to the game. Hope it sounds terrible to my family, but that is the truth.
And Keith,
it's a different experience, though, isn't it? It is a different experience. Steve, if I can just answer Glenn's point there, because this is a brilliant point, actually, because I'm only 18 miles across the water, and I miss exactly the same as you, Glenn. And you know, I have to apologise to people here going, my mates are in Liverpool, my mates are my match-going mates. I've got loads of friends here, but the ones I miss the most are the boys I go to match with. And my cousin Tony, he's a soccer coach. He coaches out on the East Coast. He's been based over in New Jersey. He's been just over 20 years now. And he came over at Christmas, and his lads is American. His lad's up in uni in New York State, and his lad coming as a surprise for his gran who lives in Wales. But for what was it? It was the Boxing Day match, I think it was. I got young Tony, his son. I got him a ticket, and he sat in my seat in the Kop. So there's this 20-year-old lad. He'd only ever seen Liverpool live once, it was, and but he'd never been to Anfield. And it was funny because he went, and I said, you know, he said, I rang him up afterwards because I was in another part of the ground. And it was like, I said, "How did you get on? Did you like it?" He said, "For the first 20 minutes, he said, someone must have thought I was an idiot because I just sat there smiling." He said, "It was the most amazing thing." He said, "I loved every second." And he was so made up. So then in the next home game, Tony and his lad were still over. So I got a spare ticket, and my brother sits next to me in the cop, and we've got them sitting together, side by side on the cop. And he said it's the best night of his life, sitting on the cop with your son, watching the Reds. You know what I mean? And that's it. That's it. Can't beat it.
Yeah, I was just going to take the. No, that's okay. I was just going to take the piss out of Glenn and ask if the rest of just to see if the rest of the fellas on the Isle of Man, if they're better on the ale than we Glenn here.
Yeah, I can't drink over here. All these strong IPAs, I can't do it.
You need to drink proper stuff, mate. None of that foreign rubbish. Manx boys are usually quite good. I don't know what's gone wrong with you, Glenn. Normally Manx boys are very proud.
Yeah, I've got a bit soft now. Yeah.
Did you know I went to Haddock Stag Do in Munich the other year, and it was like Manx boys can drink. Like that, you know what I mean? So you'll be getting drummed out. You won't be allowed back home, mate. Yeah? You'll be stuck at the ball.
We make sure he's around friends when he's drinking.
Yeah, he's taken home. Yeah.
Everyone's like, I'm not minding him.
Yeah, not again.
Yeah, Darren's being very quiet because Darren's done it a few too many times.
Yeah, we make Glenn write his address on his hand before he starts drinking.
Put it on the sole of his feet.
Okay, moving on slightly.
Even swiftly on there. You're never recovering, Glenn. You're done, mate. Yeah.
I know. I'm off now. No, but I was going to say, I actually, how I sort of know Keith, my nan, bought me a book about, his book. What was it, Keith? About 10 years ago now, was it? Was it a little bit more than that?
2009. Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember her buying me this. Yeah. Yeah. So she bought me this book, and I was like, she's like, it's some fella who lives in the Isle of Man. I was like, and then only after like a couple of years, I don't know if you remember this or not, but I worked in the same place. One of my first jobs was where you were, and I remember like you'd always bobbing around and stuff. But I always thought you were blue. I always thought you were a blue. I don't know why. I know, right?
Well,
so I
5 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly. So I was always like, and then when I got that book, I said, all right, okay. And then sort of later on, like the way the Isle of Man is, when you start going away and start watching Liverpool regularly, you start knowing other people and whatnot and stuff like that. And then the last time I seen you was, I don't know, it was going to Kiev or it was in an airport somewhere anyway. And
it was funny because the other day when Steve said you were going to be on, I went, I haven't met him, because I remember you saying you've come all the way from Texas to go all the way there. I'm sure it was Kiev, and I think you might be with Brad. And it was funny because it's a small world, isn't it? Because all the lads I go with in the Isle of Man, and actually Brad, I went all the way to Kiev with Brad, but I think you went another way, didn't you?
Yeah, I went with Hazard.
Yeah, that's right. Did you go via Belarus or something like that?
We went through basically your story before about Turkey was that was pretty much our story. Yeah, just going all over the place to save an extra 50 quid.
I know. Well, it's hey, you can write a book about it. So there you go.
There you go.
Mike was saying to me yesterday, saying, what was the best trip you ever had? And he was going to go, it's got to be Istanbul. I went, no, it was Kiev. Kiev was amazing. Even though we got beat, it wasn't about the football. Kiev was because it was like a wonderful place. And, we've been lucky following Liverpool that we get to go to these places you would never, ever go to if it wasn't for following the Reds. The vast majority of your Scouse lads from the 70s and 80s are more well-travelled than Alan Wicker. They're the most well-travelled people, because they've been to all these places in the back end of nowhere just because Liverpool were playing there, and they've had amazing experiences. And I've been lucky to do quite a few, but there's some who've done like 100 odd places in Europe. Probably Americans don't even think there's 100 odd places in Europe, but it's like it's an amazing, diverse place. So Kiev stands out because it was so different, and actually Ukraine stands out because it was so that, and it was so hard to get there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think what you're saying there as well, sorry to interrupt you, but it's like what you were talking before about the result, like that is probably one of my, I think I went to Milan when I was about 17, 18, and that was, with that being the first European away, that was pretty special. But I think Kiev was one of the best ones. Yeah, but then I remember getting back, my missus being like, "You went all that way and you got beaten." I was like, "It's one of the best days of my life." It was unbelievable. So it was such a good trip.
The big thing is that actually it's not what happens on the pitch. It's what I said at the very beginning. It's about camaraderie and belonging and friendships. And the reason Kiev is probably number one on my list of trips is because of the people I went with. I went on Istanbul, I went on my own, and it's like it's a hard drag on your own. You know what I mean? It's like it's not dangerous as such, but you know you're always wary, you're not comfortable. But when we were on the way to Kiev, there was four of us from the Isle of Man, and then it was my two mates who come down from Liverpool, and we went via Austria and Poland and all these sort of places. But actually, it was doing it with people, and the fun is the relationship and the doing it. And I was with two of my best mates, you know what I mean? And then we met my other mate who he'd flown into Poland and then got a coach overnight from Poland and met us in Kiev. And that was the last thing we said in the pub on the Saturday before we went. The last home game, or the Sunday, the last home game. I'll see you in Kiev. Who says that? That's nothing, you know? But that's what we did. And, you know, an hour after the match, as soon as we had our first drink, we had to stay up because we had nowhere to sleep. We were on at 6 o'clock in the morning train. So you might as well enjoy yourself, won't you? And it's just scout lads everywhere enjoying themselves. You know what I mean? I don't think some of them went home.
No, it was brilliant. It was a really, really good trip, that one. I went to Barcelona, and a lot of these cities as well, like you were saying before, because it's so far away. I think you tend to not get as many idiots. Do you know what I mean? Barcelona, there was a lot of idiots, but Kiev, it was just genuinely people there like having an absolute brilliant time. It was just it was such a good trip.
Yeah, there was no chance of getting in if you didn't really have a ticket. I think that people, it's a long way, and it was a lot of money. Well, when it was £1,000 for day trip or something like that, you know. And
I'm still hearing from my missus.
Well, I've got a mate, right, who told his missus in 2005. He told her that the day trip to Istanbul was like 250 quid, and she went ballistic. And he thought he'd halved it because it was 500 quid. And she went mad. And she's going, "You can't spend that much in Liverpool." He goes, "Shit, it's about 500 quid." But he had to hide the credit card statements from it. And every time the Liverpool Echo come through, it had adverts for day trips to Istanbul, and they're all going 500 quid. She had to keep hiding the Echo as well. She still doesn't know. So in my book, I wasn't allowed to say how much a day trip was. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's so funny.
So it's just like he still hasn't told her, and she hasn't asked. Like, so, you know, so I don't know what he said about how much Kiev was. 50 quid.
Oh, it's funny.
Smart
Smart
fella.
He is, mate. Yeah. He's still married, so he must be.
That's something I would do.
You wouldn't be the only one, would you?
I know.
How many lads went out for a pint of milk? I've actually heard that. You know, that's the joke, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You know, there's a lad who's at the cup fan. He goes, "My missus thinks they've gone out for a pint of milk." I've met that lad, and he'd gone to the shops for a loaf of bread, and his mate went, "I've got a spare ticket." He went, "Hey, I'll go with you." He still had the loaf of bread with him as well.
Oh, that's brilliant.
You can do that in England. You can't get abroad that often with it, like, but you can do it in England. You know. So, yeah, it's just there was also. I remember my dad in '77. He went to Rome, and that was the stuff of legend. That's why I love the European aways, because he come back from Rome, and he told us the stories. He told us about. Do you have cans of spaghetti in America? You know, like the Italians in the UK, you have a tin of spaghetti just like in tomato sauce. Do you have that?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, obviously in Liverpool, he goes, "Oh, I love spaghetti." So he gets to Rome. So he went to the first restaurant, and the only thing he recognised on the menu was spaghetti. So then the waiter brings this like plate, and it's got like spaghetti bolognese on it. And he goes, "What's this?" And the fella goes, "This spaghetti bolognese." And he goes like that. What do you mean? It's bloody rope. I'm not eating that crap. Do you know what I mean? Like that. And he wouldn't eat it because it didn't look like Heinz spaghetti. Do you know what I mean? So for 3 days in Rome, he had 2 packets of biscuits and a bag of crisps. And that was it. You know, I'm not eating any of that bottom muck. So
Yeah,
my
we
uncle.
call that the Stevie Nickel diet.
So the uncle who was with him would eat anything. So my other uncle with him as well wouldn't eat it because once again it wasn't Heinz spaghetti like you'd have on toast. So my other uncle had 3 plates of spaghetti bolognese. I was like that. I was telling the story. He died unfortunately this year. I was telling the story at his funeral in the eulogy. And like it was like that. Everyone, oh yeah. But my dad wouldn't eat it. I'm not eating none of that bottom book. You know, he's not eating any of that sort of stuff. And it was like, I remember he went to America and he said, "Can I have a cup of tea?" And the woman brought like 40 different types of tea. He went, "Only want a cup of tea." You know what I mean? Just a cup of tea, just Thai through or PG tip. He's a very simple man, my dad, like, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's where I get my passion to go abroad. Like those stuff with the stories of legends, you know, there in Bruges and I think, what was it, Bruges 73 and stuff like that, you know. The only times he's ever been abroad before I was 18 was to watch Liverpool. He never took my mum abroad. They only started going after we were growing up, really. So yeah, you know, like it was like that's why I love European away. You've always got a good story from it.
And he always came back with a loaf of bread, right?
He was lucky to come back with anything. He was always rotten drunk when he went away from my uncle.
Yeah, it's probably mouldy by the time he comes back. Here you go, love. What's this crap?
Yeah, I remember he went to Bruges and he was on the boat and he nearly the boat come from Ostend to Dover, I think it was. And he was nearly going back to Ostend again because he went to thank the captain for the safe drive. You know what I mean? So it's like rotten drunk, you know what I mean? That's how good he is, lethal. You know what I mean? So, yeah, when he went with my uncles, he was always lucky to get home. He's like Glenn. He was like Glenn. You have to put his name on the bottom of the shoes.
Oh, I'm never going to miss that, am I?
No, not on his shoes because he's end up without his shoes a couple times. So you got to put it on his hand.
Well, and he'll get sick. He'll get sick all over him as well.
It's for the bell, that one.
Oh.
Among friends, Glenn. You're among friends, man.
Yeah, there's nothing like being asked to exit a cab with him.
That's not a good look.
No,
I thought when you said you want to come on this podcast, I thought it was going to be quite enjoyable. But now
I think this is brilliant.
No, it has been.
This is the best one you've ever done.
This is great banter. But, you know, Glenn lives in Texas, so you don't want to be walking up to the wrong door at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I was going to say, yeah, it's a bit like taking your life in your hands, isn't it? Yeah.
It's funny actually, Keith, because when a couple of the lads come over from now, Manhaddock and Duddy, we were down on Rainy Street, and obviously I'm terrible with directions when I'm sober. I had them just walking the total wrong way. So that was like 4 years ago, and they're still going on about that now. I just had them walking the total. Yeah, oh my god, absolutely ridiculous.
Keith, what's one of your favourite like away grounds to go to?
Away ground. I tell you, do you want an English one and a foreign one?
Yeah, go ahead.
The Allianz was amazing. The Allianz was in Munich was brilliant. I loved the Allianz because it was a place I'd always wanted to go. And I was lucky I took Charlie to the Allianz 2 or 3 years ago, pre-season. We played the Audi Cup there, and we had a weekend in Munich, but I think it was a weekend anyway. And it was roasting, and we played Napoli, and we played at Atletico Madrid. And we got to see them train as well the morning of the game. Oh, they played Bayern Munich, and we backed to Bayern Munich. We got to see them train the morning. And there's a great picture where Charlie met Manny, and Manny signed his shirt. You know, Manny was the sweetest guy. But the Allianz as a stadium was amazing. It was really good. And then I went when Liverpool beat Munich 3-1, and Mane scored that superb goal, and Van Dijk scored the header right in front of us. And I ended up sitting with the Manx boys, actually, 3 lads from the Isle of Man. You might know them, Glover and Tristan Mingan and people like that.
Yeah, Tristan go away a lot, yeah.
Yeah, we had an absolute ball, and it was great. The city was brilliant and lovely, and it was fabulous. So yeah, I love the Allianz. From an English perspective, like it's a few years now since I went to proper away games, and because you can't get the tickets now, and getting over, it's pretty much a closed shop. I went to Chelsea a few years ago, but actually I hate Chelsea ground, it's rubbish.
Horrible.
But back in the day, I used to love Main Road. Standing on the kickbacks and stuff. The Main Road is fabulous. And it was a really good one. Or the baseball ground in Derby. The really old ones, which actually they're not even there anymore. That's how old I am. But yeah, it's old school football grounds. I like the atmosphere. Even in like the Premiership now, I actually quite like Goodison. It's still got a little bit of something about it. You can't see, but it's got something about it. Whereas you look at Tottenham Stadium now, it's state of the art. It's amazing. It pours beer for you through the bottom of your glass and all this sort of stuff. And it just looks absolutely stunning. But you go, it doesn't really feel like it, does it? Or West Ham doesn't really feel like it. And that's why I was glad they never moved from Anfield, actually. Because Anfield has still got, even though you got that big new stand, and it's still got a feeling about it. Whereas I think if you went to one of these soulless bowls, my mate was saying yesterday, well, Wembley Stadium's a fabulous stadium when no one's in it, isn't it? It looks amazing.
Yeah,
but
it's terrible
when
though,
someone's in it, when someone's in it, it's not like the old Wembley. I always preferred Cardiff, to be fair, as a place to go for a cup final. But yeah, probably somewhere like the baseball ground at Derby or somewhere like that would be one of my favourites.
Yeah, I used to like Highbury going there because you're so close to the pitch as well, and with the Emirates again, it's like Spurs' new stadium. I think it just lacks soul.
Yeah. And they've sold out in some ways. And actually, the lads who used to stand on the clock end next to us, or go down the North Bank and that, they don't really go anymore. Or if they do, they're all scattered everywhere. Highbury was always a great place. I always remember going the first year that Barnes, Beardsley, and Aldridge played, and we won 2-1 there on the first day, and we took about 10,000 on the first day, and it was amazing. And we had over half that end. And like it was a proper football ground, wasn't it? Even Tottenham, if you went to the Shelf in Tottenham, I went to Southampton FA Cup semi-final, and we were on the Shelf, which is where their home fans were, and it was like a horrible place to stand, but brilliant at the same time. It was like this, like had a feral attitude, probably, and when you went to Tottenham, you always knew you'd been to a football ground because actually your ears were ringing like you went to a concert because there was noise. You go to some of these grounds now, and you might as well pipe the noise in, because it's not the same. But we've moved on, haven't we? Yeah.
I was just going to say about the Allianz. I've got a funny story actually. I've not been there to watch the Reds, but I went there about 8 years ago, 7-8 years ago, when like my missus, we just sort of with each other, and so we went to Munich. We done all the the nice things in Munich, and I'm like, we're going to see that football ground. It's unbelievable, right? So I've got there, and I've delayed it for the last day, and like there must only be like 1 or 2 English tours a day. Well, idiot here doesn't check the schedule. Just rocks up and think it's Bayern Munich. They all speak English. So get there. I'm on this German tour. I'm just walking. My missus, it's freezing. My missus just sitting next to me like, what are we doing here? It's just the German tour the whole time, and I'm like, it was an amazing stadium. I've not got a clue what was spoken about, but it was.
It was funny. In 2016, I went to Augsburg away, and the only reason I went to Augsburg away was because it was close to Munich, and we'd never been to Munich. So we'd done the Hofbrau House, and we had a few beers, and we had a few more. And I've been delayed out the Isle of Man, so I had a flight cancelled, and then I got to Munich probably 12 hours late, so I had a lot of catching up to do with my mate who was already hammered. So we done this tonight, and then the next day he went, "Oh, let's go to the Allianz to do the tour." And we never got out the cafe. He goes, "Oh, I don't feel well enough to do the tour. I'm not walking around here for an hour." So yeah, it was like, "Oh, I've never done the tour to the Allianz." But yeah,
I have, but I don't have a clue what was going on.
Just make it up. This is the changing rooms.
Basically, that's what it was. Yeah.
That's basically what he's saying. Yeah.
I remember her looking at me like big coat on her, like little texting gear, like, "What are we doing here?" Yeah, it's funny.
Are you still with it?
Yeah. You would think so, right? You would have just been me off.
Oh yeah. After your escapades, I've just heard about you.
Oh, we'll have 3 days in Munich. It'll be lovely.
Yeah,
1 day
get romantic. Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. Sorry, I had to jump in with that story. Sorry.
Yeah, it's worse places to be than Munich. That's for sure.
It is. It's a
lovely
fabulous place. I know the best kebab shop in Munich now. I honestly, every time I go to the same kebab shop, and they even know me now. Yo, hey! Like that. Yeah, put it all on. You know what I mean?
Asking for a slippery nipple as well.
Oh, not in there. I've learned my lesson. I don't go out anymore. I'm not allowed to say that one.
Yeah, you can always count on like English people to find kebab shops.
They're everywhere in Germany and Austria. Honestly, they're called actually kebab shops.
Yep.
You don't even spell it properly. Yep. Kebab. Yeah, but they're nice. After a couple of nights on the ale, you feel it when you're coming home through Gatwick.
Yeah. I lived in Berlin for 3 years, and I kept those kebab shops in business late at night going back. I'd always get 2, eat 1, and then fall asleep, and then the next morning, my room just smelled, like onions and kebabs. So I was like, but yeah.
Are you married, Steve?
I am, yes. Yeah.
How the hell are you married smelling the kebabs? I don't know.
Well, I waited till I was 40 to get married, so I got all that out of my system.
Don't really do your kebab, have it?
Yeah, I love a good kebab. Yeah.
So Keith, when do we expect this new book?
I am working on it. Honestly, I was going for help, and then I found out I got redundant. I'm starting again tomorrow. Don't tell me bosses because they probably won't watch it anyway. But half my time's me home and half my time's there. But I'm looking to set up a business as well. So I've got to manage a little bit. But I hope to have the final draft ready by Christmas and then go out early in the new year.
Nice.
I've got 65,000 words done.
Nice.
The last one was 124. I think it needs to trim down this one. But I made a bit of a mistake. Kiev's got 15,000 words in it already. So that's a long chapter. Yeah, but a lot happened in Kiev. Yeah, so, just going to do that. What happened was I kept picking up the American one and every time the thought of America would come up, I'd do that one and go, I just need to focus on the Liverpool one. And that's what the plan is. Just focus, get out of the way. I've got a publishing contact that I'm going to speak to see if I get a publisher this time. Because self-publishing is hard going. There's a lot of slog. I spent years walking around Anfield going, "Can I tell you about my book?" and giving them a little card or a flyer. And I met a fellow a few years ago. He went, not you again. He went, you talked to me on the way to Madrid on a plane. You annoyed the life out of me. You talked to me in Madrid. You kept bumping into me outside the ground. He said, "I'm fed up listening to you." I said, "Well, buy the book then." He went, "I bought the book and I loved it. Well done, mate." Like that.
I have another book coming out. Buy that one now.
Everybody knows, and actually a lot of people, which is brilliant because a lot of people go, "When's your next one out?" And I go like that. And actually the first one's still selling. I sold 3 copies last week. It's just I don't get the money for it anymore. I don't know where it goes. It goes into a black hole somewhere. It's nice when people like your stories, and it's nice to me where you go, I've done enough to have some stories, and I love just telling people about them because everyone goes, "Oh, like Glenn's just done." When we went to Kiev, or you did when I lived in Berlin and just said kebabs all the time. What a boss story that is! Write a book, get up here, I'm buying it. Yeah.
Steve writes a kebab book.
That's after my Oktoberfest stories. I'm going to write that book first and then write the kebab stories.
That'd probably be a top shelf one, though, Oktoberfest, won't it?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
not for the faint-hearted.
No, not at all. It's but it goes back to Darren and I, we kind of mentioned this last night with our guests, is that we love these stories. We love, you talk about the games, everybody has their own opinions. They may listen to you or they may just say you're full of crap. I have my own opinions about the games. But when you bring stories in, they can't argue, because these are personal stories that they don't have these type of perspectives. And I think it hooks people, and it really rounds out the Liverpool experience. It's just not the team, it's the history and the stories behind it. And that's, we love listening to it. It's just amazing.
Do you know what as well, Steve, is if you speak to United fans and Everton fans and Tottenham fans and people like that, a lot of different fans bought my book. And I think being away from Liverpool, a lot of the people I know in the island support teams like Aston Villa, Leicester, Leeds United, the lad next door, so they're all button, and Liverpool, Everton, United, Wolves, Burnley, and also Luton Town. I know 3 Luton Town fans on the island, man. It's crazy. They got their own little supporters club, and they all have their own experiences, and they all go. You might be talking about going to Wembley to watch Liverpool, but I went to Wembley for the playoffs, so it inspires people to think about themselves, and that's what I was really pleased with, because when you go to a away match anywhere, but you want to pick Europe, people turn the TV off at the end. They listen to maybe the pundits spouting nonsense. But that's over. If you go to bed, or if you're in Australia, you go to bed for about half an hour to get up again, or whatever. Or if you're in America, it's like you took the afternoon off work and you've gone back. But what's in those people behind the goal who's supporting that team, they've still got to get home. And for some of us, it takes 2-3 days to get home from an away match in Europe. And there's an adventure, and I always look at them and go, well played, boys. That's brilliant. You're having the time of your life, because they're just the same as us. And as football fans, there's more unites us than divides us. Mm-hmm. I think if you listen to Twitter, everybody hates each other. But in Madrid last year, Liverpool fans and Tottenham fans got on absolutely brilliant. But actually, everyone hates each other on Twitter. Well, no, they don't. Twitter's not the real world. No. When I had a mate who's a Tottenham fan, I used to work with it years ago. And he messaged me privately on Twitter to go, well done, you deserved it, boys, for winning the league. He said, I didn't want to put it on a public one because, it's full of dickheads on here. Because you just get slaughtered. That's wrong, isn't it? But yeah, we're all the same. We like going to a match. We'll have a drink. We'll have a laugh. We'll have an experience. And it's fun. And that's what it is. And people who've never done it don't get it. They don't get it. They think you're just going for what's on the pitch. But it's a very social thing. And it's about belonging. And it's about the camaraderie again. Some of the best times you'll ever have in your life are going to a football match or watching a football match with people. The lads who go watching the motorbikes, they're exactly the same. The lads who've been to Austin to watch motorbikes, mm-hmm. They've got loads of stories that come out of there. Yeah. When they did this night out there or doing this, or when they go to like Brno in Czech Republic and like all these places, and like that. It's the bikes is their passion. And what I try with my book is it's about passion and belonging, and you can have that with many sports, but actually the bit that binds us together is we've got a passion for it, whether it be Liverpool, Everton, or Man United. You can do whatever you want to do, and that's why I think a lot of people relate to the book is the experiences. United fans read about Champions League fans, they go right the way back to when he beat Barcelona, when he beat Bayern Munich in Barcelona, and you just go, well, what a night to be a Man United fan. Or my mate's a Chelsea fan, and he was in Munich the night that they come back and won the Champions League in Munich. Mm-hmm. And he's done the same. And he goes, and we talk about it, and he you get tears in his eyes going, it's the best night of his life. Or, we're all the same. So, and I think, there's a way to follow Liverpool that I like that some clubs don't have. The way we follow it seems to ripple around the world. So when I've been to like Africa and Dubai and places like that, there's there's a way we follow each other. You know, there's like a passion. It seems to be a bit different to other people, and sometimes that's what makes us stand out. And if you want to use the word, be hated. You know, so
Well, I mean,
jealousy.
you mentioned it, and you have a perspective because you've come to the United States quite often, and you see
Yeah.
the level of a passion that the Liverpool fans in the United States have. Obviously, we have a lot of
Yeah.
expats here, but I mean the organic ones that have just got to Liverpool, since I would say early '90s when it became prevalent on the television, and but the level of passion and I think sometimes it's hard to transcend that from that mindset from England to here, especially when Liverpool comes to play here, and then you just see everybody going to the match for a preseason friendly. Not the starters aren't even really playing, but you
Yeah,
see
yeah.
the stadium is full.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
it's loads of
People
people.
travel
Yeah.
from all over the United States. I mean, it's 3,000 miles from one end to the other, so it's not an easy trip either.
Big old
So,
place. It's a
right.
big old place. Yeah. I remember that weekend. We did a motorhome in California in it was 2016, I think it was. And Liverpool were in. Is it Santa Clara where
Yep.
San Francisco play the 49ers play in it?
Yeah, that's when AC Milan came down there in 2016.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we were driving past Santa Clara like a month before, and Charlie's going to me, going, "You picked a terrible time to come to America, Dad, because you're gonna go." Oh, so next time he come to the States, I'm gonna take him because I say I've got relatives out there in Delaware and New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So we can combine family and football and do all that sort of stuff. And it's lovely when you see people singing "You Never Walk Alone" in Sydney or in Boston or places like that, and the passion they have is our passion. And that's their chance to see the men in red. And actually, as you say, not even the starters are playing, but they go, they're here, they're in town,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And you get good access to them usually as well, probably better access than us. But I love seeing people abroad supporting my team.
I think as well, just sort of going on that, like, I think it's about, how many years ago was it when Gerrard come to Houston? It was about 4 or 5 years ago. Wasn't it? About 4 or 5 years ago when Gerrard played.
About 4 years ago.
We took, I mean, the amount of people that went down from here and the amount of people that went from Dallas and from San Antonio that went to Houston to watch, not Liverpool play, but to watch Steven. I mean, obviously, he's Steven Gerrard, but the amount of people that went down to watch him. Yeah. He was absolutely terrible, and he was done, and it was really sad watching it. But to see him on a pitch, but like that was my one thing.
He was playing for LA Galaxy, was he?
Yeah, he was playing for Galaxy. Yeah, but yeah, it was probably about 300. Probably must have been about 300 people in that pub that we were in, Steve, wasn't there?
Yep.
Easy, and that's like, it's pretty mad, really, isn't it, when you think about it? Just how much. Like, when I first come here, I was like, this is going to be a nightmare. This is going to be, and then I literally go down the pub, met these, and then it's like our supporters group, not because Steve's on here, but our supporters group is absolutely class. It's really, really good.
That's good.
Some of these lads are getting up at like 5 a.m. to watch, going down, getting all the rail together at like 5 a.m. And I'm thinking, there's no way. Like, people back home don't even realise the amount of stuff that people are going to watch Liverpool play.
Well, this is it. And I've got friends in Australia, and on the different end of the time scale and stuff. But I remember the first time I come to the States was 1990, and I did one of those air passes where you fly all over the States. So we did East Coast to West Coast and like everywhere in between. We were doing New Orleans and all these places. You couldn't watch football anywhere at that time. And you're going, what, soccer? And it's like that. And the World Cup was on, and we were trying to watch Ireland up in the Catskills, and we were in an Irish bar, and it was just like pointless asking. You just couldn't see anything. But now you get to see all the games, don't you? And it's a really good coverage and things like that. I know you got to put up with some dodgy commentators, but it's still it's available, isn't it? Now, that modern world, you can see it when you want to see it. But yeah, I think it's like I went to Florida in '92, I think it was. We went '92, maybe a little bit later. We took a load of kids playing football in Florida. We took 40 Irish kids and Welsh kids, on a tour. My cousin was doing it, and we went there, and actually I couldn't believe how big soccer was in the States, because it was mad, like it was like the kids' sport, you know what I mean? And it is, but there's still nothing on TV, and you're still going, well, how's it a sport? How do the kids like it so much? And it's funny because my cousin I went with ends up coaching there. So, but a lot of the kids we took there, I ended up with Peterborough United in a small club in England, running the soccer schools for them and youth development and stuff like that. And a lot of the kids who went to Florida the first time made it as apprentices, and quite a few made it as pro as well. So Florida are always like, well, that was the place, and they always remember how big it was. And that's the fact that actually the girls' soccer was as big as the boys' soccer at the time as well. But I think, forgive me if I'm wrong, but Florida was probably one of those states where it was really big, and then maybe New York State or Texas might be big, and loads of other states didn't play it. But now it's like it seems to be bigger all the time, doesn't it? But I went to watch New York Red Bulls with Charlie the other year. They were playing Seattle in the Red Bull Stadium, which is just across the river in Newark. And it was great, but it was dead disappointing because the ground was half empty. It was just like there's hardly anyone there. But actually, they had their ultras, so me and Charlie stood with the ultras, giving it one of them, songs. And but it was a disappointing level as well. I think it was more like championship level. And you just think, surely it can get better. And it seems to me this big. Was it Atlanta got a new team last year and they had 60,000 people, and surely it's going to get there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's also dependent on where you are in the country, isn't it? I think like Seattle and Portland, the supporter base up there is amazing. Like they're getting regular supporters selling out every week. So I suppose it sort of depends on where you are and just sort of growing it. Like we're getting a local team here. So next year we're going to have our first MLS team. So you'll have to come over and fit in the game for that as well.
Well, if you want to pay for this thing, I'll do a supporters night for them, and if you just pay for the flight, I'm up for anything now. I'll say yes to anything, Glenn. If you want me to appear at your supporters club for the next home game, I'll come. And I'll come economy. I don't care. Honestly, I'm not like precious.
We get flights about £200 now anyway, so that's all right.
Cool, yeah. I'll be like that with it, Matt.
Yeah, Keith, once everything returns to normal and everybody can travel freely, you could bet that we will have you here in Austin as soon as we can.
I would love to come.
Just not when it's 106.
It's funny. I went once, and I always thought Texas was like just like a barren desert, but it's not. It's quite green actually as a state up the north end, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bits of it are really, really dry, aren't they?
90%.
I flew once from Houston to Dallas, and you got off the plane, and you went, "Get me back on that plane. It's cold." It's like, oof, it's so hot and steaming. Yeah, but I'll definitely have to come back. Texas, I really like Texas a lot.
Well, we'll have a pint waiting for you.
Good.
I'll be on orange juice.
Not for Glenn though. Not for Glenn. Actually, you can just come. You could just come over and babysit him.
I'll be your Uber.
I've washed my hands of him.
Look at me, I'm already practicing anyway. Everyone else is drinking water.
Not me.
Well, we really do appreciate you coming on.
Hey, honestly, it's been fab.
It's like the stories you're telling, just remind me of me. I'm sure Glenn will say the same thing. Steve will say the same thing. It just triggers something in you, and you just go, I remember when I did this away match or a home match, and you're just like, yeah, that's why we love this club.
Just said, I think, everybody's got mates like me, and everyone's had, experiences to a point like me. They're all different, but hopefully it's relatable, and that's why I was really proud of the book that people said, it reminded me about when we did that, or they were actually at the same place. But you can stand next to someone else and have totally different experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what's good. But when you start sharing stories, life's brilliant. Life is brilliant. You know what I mean? If you put the hardest bit I thought, Daz, was the first step out the door is the hardest bit. Everything else is easy after that. You fall into place, you make decisions. And like, I went to Istanbul with a little bit of trepidation, but I come back a different fella. Because I'd always said that after Hillsborough, I always said, life's for living. You know, because you always had this plan before Hillsborough, which you're like, when I'm 25, I'll be married and I'll have kids and I'll have a two up and do that. Life doesn't work like that. It got stolen away. So I went, I'm doing everything. So the year of Hillsborough, we went round Europe on the train, me and my brother and my mate. The following year, 7 of us come to the States and we just went, lasted on the credit card and paid it off when we come back because we just did it because you went, life's for living. And actually, I always said, and with America's funny, I always said I'd go on my own, but I've never been on my own. And the reason is, there's always someone who'll go with you. So I had loads of experiences. People go, oh, I'll go with you. Sometimes it was 2, 3, 4 of us. Never the 7 again because there was too many fallouts with the 7. Or, you know, just go. Yeah, it's not a good number 7. You know, the fighting started in New Orleans and didn't stop until we got to Niagara Falls. And it was just like, you know, I always said I'd go anywhere on my own, but I never had to do it until I went to Istanbul because actually I just couldn't go from Liverpool. I had to go on my own. I had to be creative and stuff, but I still met my mates there on the day of the match, and I met a few mates and at the match and stuff like that. So I had that little bit of, I always had somewhere to be. But now you just go, there's always someone who's a loose end or split up with the missus or, you know, like that. There's always a soft case who goes, oh, I'll go with you. And actually that makes what it is. You know, it's fabulous, you know. And every time you have a different person and your dynamic's different. So, you know, go and meet as many people as well. There's some brilliant people out. I met some brilliant people traveling on my own. But, you know, some things is, that when you travel with more than one of you, so say you travel with 2 of you, you're probably a little bit self-contained. You mightn't speak to anyone. Mm-hmm. When you travel with 3 of you, you definitely don't speak to anyone because actually you've got enough in your threesome to bounce off each other. But if you go on your own, it's brilliant. You know, it's really, really good. And, you know, Istanbul, I met lads on the train and they were all going, oh, what you're doing is amazing because you're doing it on your own. And they were in a group of 12. But that group of 12 become a group of 13 because you go, yeah, lad, come here and we went for a kebab in Thessalonica. Never seen them again. You know what I mean? And you just go, but what a night with those lads. You know what I mean? So that's it. So, yeah, I think that's what I believe. Life's for living. And there's more nice people than not nice people. Mm-hmm. And you'll meet some great people. And do you know what it is? It's like sitting in a bar and someone goes, where are you from? And you go, sometimes I say the Isle of Man. I look them up and down first to see whether they actually know where the Isle of Man was. And then I go, well, actually, Liverpool. And then from Liverpool, you go, are you red or are you blue? No matter where you go in England or around England, you go, are you red or are you blue? And then when you go to America, people go, the Beatles or Liverpool FC. It used to always be the Beatles.
Right.
And this is a cracking story. You've still got time for more stories.
Yeah, of course.
You know Carmel in California, where Clint Eastwood was mayor.
Yeah.
At Carmel, and it's just down from Monterey.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
Stunning. Yeah, it's right by Pebble Beach Golf Course, actually. Because I bumped onto Pebble Beach Golf Course because you can go up off the beach. And Clint Eastwood had this bar there called the Hog's Breath Inn. And basically, I'd read before we went that sometimes Clint Eastwood turned up at the bar because I think he'd been there and he was no longer there, but he still lived in Carmel. And some nights he'd rock up and just sit at the bar. So I thought, I'm going to meet Clint Eastwood. Not that he probably wouldn't turn up, but he'd turn up. So we walk into this place and we said to the waitress, oh, can I have a table for 4, please? And she goes, oh, yeah, it'll be about half an hour. I went, oh, yeah, that's all right. Yeah. She said, you can go in the bar over the courtyard. And we went over the courtyard. and there's a bar there, which was one of those fabulous American bars, which is really dark and dingy, and all the spirits on the wall, and there's like a little bar with a gold rim and all that sort of stuff. And as you walk in, there's a fella at the far end of the bar, and he's sitting there, doesn't even look up at us, like an oldish fella, doesn't look up at us. And the barman goes, "Hey guys, you know, what do you want to drink?" I went, "Have you got 4 bottles of Bud, please, mate?" And because we drinking rubbish then. And he said, "Have you got 4 bottles of Bud?" He went, "Oh, yeah, sit there, I get them there." And he goes, "Where are you from?" I went, "Oh, from Liverpool in England." He went, "Oh, yeah, so-and-so down there in the bar there, he's from Liverpool in England. He played in the 1965 FA Cup winning team." And this fella's ears just pricked up. And he went, and he sidled over to us while the barman was getting the beer. He goes, "All right, lads," he said, you know it, don't you? I never played in the cup team at all." Like that. They all think I do. So he goes like that. He said, "Just play along with it." He said, I'm with you down. So I was like, I think he was trying to be Willie Stevenson or something like that. And he went, and so when the barman comes back, I went, "My half fella said that he was the best player that ever played for Liverpool." And the fella goes, "4 more bottles of Budweiser for the lads here." Like he's been winging it for 10 years by saying that he played for Liverpool, the FA Cup team. You can't do that now. You couldn't get away with it because someone would bugle you, won't you? You know, I think you're a stalker or whatever like that. So like that, I was wetting myself, and this lad was going, "All right, lads, see you later." But there's Scousers everywhere in like California, and I bet loads all over America.
Oh
They
yeah.
were just living the best lives, you know what I mean? Obviously lying a lot, but you're living the best lives.
You know,
Glenn said he's the Prime Minister of the Isle of Man, didn't he?
oh yeah. He said that a couple of times. You know, that reminds me when we had Ronnie Whelan here for a Legends Night. We went golfing, and so we're in the middle of Austin. Well, this golf course, hardly anybody was there. So we ended up golfing. We ended up at the clubhouse afterwards, having a couple of pints, and somebody at the in the clubhouse was from Ireland, and remembered him playing for the national team. You know, so here we are in the middle of Texas at a golf course, and somebody that grew up from Ireland, you know, and so, you know, he was getting Ronnie Whelan's autograph, and it was just amazing. But it just tells you, you know, how small a world it is and how football can bring everybody together.
It is, and it's not just football. It's Scousers. When we were young, there was a lot of unemployment in Liverpool, so people had to. I think the phrase the Tory minister used one way was get on your bike and find work.
Mm-hmm.
So we got on our bike, but we got on planes as well, and they're all over the place. You know, like you go to any country in the world, all of a sudden someone will hear your voice and go, "All right, lad, how are you? Where are you from?" And you go like that. And I remember I went to Vegas once, and we were in New York. New York casino. Oh no, sorry, the Excalibur casino. And we went to the bar, and me and my mate, and we sort of, you know, when you have that jet lag where you just go, "And I'm not sure if I can have another one." So we said, "We'll just have one more." So we went to the bar, and this barman says to us, "So where are you from?" We said, "Oh, from Liverpool in England." And he goes, "Oh, my mate Johnny's from Liverpool in England. He's on the tables there. He's a dealer on the tables. Tell you what, I'll buy you a drink." So he buys, you know, gives us the first drink free. He said, "I'll go and have a word with John." So he pops off, and about 2 minutes later he comes back. He went, "Oh, John said he's got 15 minutes of shift left, and he said buy it another beer." So it looks like we're staying up all night now. But this lad buys another beer, and then all of a sudden, 15 minutes, this lad comes over and he goes, "Hey, I'm John," and all this, and he starts doing that. He's like pure American, do you know what I mean? I went, "You're not American." He goes, "I am. I'm from Kirby." And he said, he said, "I am Scouse. I'm from Kirby." And actually, that was 2 miles away from where I lived. And we knew people that we each other knew, you know, from when we were growing up. So he goes, "Oh, all these croupiers, they all get like 4 or 5 drinks, 3 drinks a night." He said, "They get 3 drinks every night." So we went around this table, getting them off all his mates, all these coupons. So we never bought another drink all night off this lad. This lad was going, at 6 o'clock in the morning, goes, "Oh, my missus is going to kill me. You should have been home at 2. So he said, "I'll drive you home." And he's been drinking as much as us. I went, No, you're all right." I said, "We're staying here." He went, "No, I'll drive you home." I said, "No, we're staying here." in the Excalibur. He said, I'm going to drive you home. He said, I bought you beer all night. I'm going to drive you home. So he made us get in the car and he drove us from one side of the Excalibur to the other side of the Excalibur. Threw us out and went, cheers, lad. See you later. Never saw him again. You know? It's just like, what's only in Scouser in Vegas?
That's something that you can get away with Glenn, I think.
You've got Glenn. Easy peasy, mate.
Speaking of Vegas, Keith, we're actually going. There's a thing called Cop Connect.
Cop.com, is it?
No, it's happening next June, and so me and Steve are going to hopefully do the podcast and stuff there. David Fairclough, Phil Tomo, Bruce Grobbelaar, who's Roy Evans, right? Yeah, so they're going to be there. You should come over for that.
I'll do my best. Seeing I'm now free and easy. As long as my redundancy money doesn't go, I'm going to see if I can do it. It's a bit hot in June, though, isn't it?
Yeah, there's air conditioning inside.
Yeah, there's pools. There's pools and cold beer as well.
Have you done that for the last couple of years? I mean, a few people I've followed from America have posted about that before. Yeah, so that should be great. Getting everybody from the States together in one place. Good excuse for it.
Well, I know the lady from Hotel Tia, she's coming as well.
Oh, brilliant! Oh,
yeah. So and then a couple of musicians, Mark Kenny, who's a musician in Liverpool. It's going to be sound, and it won't just be like Yanks as well. You know, people all over the world are coming. So I think they're going to do really well this time, especially with me and Steve there.
That's right.
There you go, mate. You're going to have some good content there. It'll take some to beat tonight, though, to be honest with you. Like.
That's right.
I'll tell you what, Keith. We're going to make it our mission to find who gave you 2 stars.
No, I'll send you his name and his details, and you can hunt him down.
Wink, wink, wink.
Yeah, I think he was a Chelsea fan, to be fair.
They're just miserable, even though they did win today, so I'm sure they're happy. But
let's not give him anything on Wednesday night, though, eh?
Oh man,
I
don't care if they have to wheel Hendo in, if he's on crutches, if he's a full kit wanker that day. I don't care. You know, just hoist that trophy. You know what? I love that they're going to do it on the Cop.
Yeah, it's clever, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like, you know, that was the only way you could really do it. You know, to make it like, you know, do a big show, and then they're going to do fireworks from every like level of Anfield. Yeah, I think that's brilliant. You know,
I think is Kenny's going to give him the trophy as well, isn't it? Which is a lovely trophy.
Yeah, I mean,
I like that.
Can you imagine, like, you know, well, obviously getting the trophy, but like Kenny giving it to you.
Oh, I know, yeah. There you go. You might as well retire. Jordan is never getting any better, mate.
Yeah, well, until next year when he lifts, you know, number 20.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a time to be a Liverpool fan. You know, especially a lot of the US fans. There's a lot of, you know, obviously winning the league. There's going to be tons of new fans. So what a time to come in to be a Liverpool fan. I mean,
just need to educate them.
Well, yeah, I mean,
the team, innit?
Yeah, well, that's why again we try to do this podcast to kind of, you know, tell stories, educate them. Like, you know, it's not just about watching the matches. Like, pick up a book, read the history, read the fans, you know, view of what they've seen. You know, because you can't just. I'm not all about just, like you say, it's an adventure. You know, you watch the match, but then it's, you know, maybe you don't travel to the match, but you go to the pub, and after the match, you stay for 2-3 hours with your mates.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
It's just a different adventure. You know, we are the lucky ones to do what we do. You know, and you know, there's a little hardcore who do everything, and you know, the massive respect for them. They do everything. And you know, that's their lives. And then there's people like us who play in the margins of it and do it like that. And then there's people who just want to do it and they love to do it. And actually they read these stories and listen to them. What I say about the club now is it's got a Scouse heartbeat. Supporting Liverpool must always have a Scouse heartbeat. It's got to have that heartbeat. But it doesn't mean the arms and legs have got to be Scouse. You know, there's always, you see some of this on Twitter where you go, wow, Wolves this and Wolves that, and you've got to be Scouse. No, that's nonsense. That's just a wind up. The vast majority of Liverpool fans are made up. We have international fans. They're absolutely delighted and they revel in it. You know, if you go abroad and people see a live, a bird on your chest and something like, wow, well done there. And like that, you just want to talk. And, you know, you should be proud that we're internationally famous and you should be proud that we are. And, you know, there's there's about 10 lads who sit in front of us in the Kop. And they're all from Scunthorpe in Lincolnshire, which is the far east. But they've been going for 30 years, home and away. Everywhere in Europe you see a number of them. You know, it's not a purely Scouse thing. It never has been a purely Scouse thing. But, you know, the heartbeat is there, Scouse, and everyone else joins in around that and feeds it. And, you know, they're doing some great stuff with, like, you know, like the Spirit of Shankly guys in 1906. And then you've got, like, musicians like Mark Kenny and Jamie Webster and people like that. And Keegan Molyneux. And you've also got, you know, hat scarf and a badge doing these T-shirts and Love Follow Conquer Transalpino. There's a real creativity about Liverpool fans that is feeding the monster of fandom. And it's like, you go to a boss night. I remember I went to a boss night, which is where Jamie Webster pretty much comes from. I went to a boss night, probably 2014, and it was like, there was 100 of us in a bar, and it was riotous, and it was brilliant and that. Like, now they're doing thousands, and, you know, you can't get in. And actually, everywhere you go in Europe, you know, they've done them in Munich, they've done them in Madrid. The one in Madrid, 50,000 people in a square. Mm-hmm. And he's singing LA, and the place is going mad. There's a different way to support your team, and it's lovely. It's really nice. You know, it's like proper. You know, like the songs are back from what they used to be. You know, if you listen to LA, I was in Porto the night that was sort of born, and it started rippling around the streets, and it was lashing down, but it was rippling. And then in Paris, we were in a backstreet bar in Paris. And someone was singing the Bobby Firmino song, Sim Signor. I was like that. He was like, oh, that's all right, isn't it? The next night it was on the terraces. And then all of a sudden, by the time you get to Madrid, everybody's singing it. And at LA, you know, I watched Kiev the other day, a little bit of stuff. That booms around the stadium. Booms. But it started in, like, the wet streets of Porto. And I met the lad who wrote the words to it in Munich a few years ago. And a guy called Phil, and he's a proper funny lad. He's a proper scally lad, and he's boss. And he's going, yeah, I wrote it like that. But it's sort of like dead understatement. What you wrote to LA? I said, how do you feel when everybody's singing it? He's like, oh, sounds like. So, there's lots of people being creative around it, and you've got all the fan sites like the Anfield Rap, who's fabulous stuff. And I've been lucky enough to do a bit with the Anfield Rap, but my brother does a lot with the Anfield Rap. He's been, you know, with them for quite a few years, and they do great content, you know, and it's like milking it, and like that's the bit about the Scouse heart. But they've been to America and they come again, and they've been all over the world doing their little shows, and you go, this is what it's like to be a Red, and it's great, it's good.
And
but
they're,
you know,
they're all humble as well.
Yes, they're
like,
great guys.
Down to earth. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they'll give you the time, won't they? It was like Tony Evans had said to you before about my book, so generous with the time. And I'm not the only one. It was like that going, yeah, let's have a pint and do it. And go, what? At the time, he's the football head at the time. So, what? Have a pint with me? Yeah, come on. And he actually bought me one. He bought me it as well like that and gave me loads of great advice. And it was funny, I saw Tony on the train to Kiev from this little Lviv place. And it's always good to, and he always goes, oh, let's catch up and have a pint. Just wants to help you, you know, just a foot in the ladder. And you'll find people are generous with the time. And I, you know, a few people have contacted me and I've tried to help them with, you know, my ideas on self-publishing, and a few young lads have been in touch, and they're writing great stuff. There's some young lads who go everywhere who are writing stuff now, and they're going, it never used to be for the likes of us. So imagine years ago you doing a podcast. What? That's mad. It's not for the likes of us. Who says? Who says it's not? It is, mate. They're doing a great job as well, so just keep educating the truth.
Do you know what, Keith? I was just going to say, it was when you were speaking before about your son. I think for anyone who's like an expat who hasn't been back over the last, say, 3 years or whatever, there was a game I went back for, and it was just everything was so different. I try and go back like every year, and I went back, and it was like the club shop had changed. It was only like a year before the new club shop was there, which I would never really go in there, but it was just like seeing this big old thing. It's like there was people playing music. I don't know why I'm moving my hands so much. There's people playing music. Got now loads of stuff for the kids as well. Like, and like I was speaking to like my mates, like Tristan and Haddock, and you know they go over there. It's different now. They go now with their kids, so it's like similar to you. They'll take the kids now, and they're like, you know, a couple of years ago before that, it was, you know, you just go in a pub, but kids don't want to just sit in the pubs all the time. So you now got all this, like, you know, they can go and play football out there. They can go and meet the mascot and all that stuff. It's so different. I think over the last 5-6 years, like from afar, like even seeing the thing that Jamie Webster did with the young kids, seeing like 2,000 kids, seeing 2,000 kids singing all those songs. It's just like, can you imagine being 7, 8 years old or whatever, or even older, and being a part of that? It was, like, that was unbelievable. It was so good. I think what we've got now, like our base or like the Anthem rap and everything else that's sort of going on, it's genuinely I am so jealous, because it is the best time, not just because we're class on the field, but off the field, it is just unbelievable. It really is.
Do you know what? I think you got to go look to Jurgen for some of that. I think. Do you remember the day where they drew 2-2 with West Brom, and he lined the players up in front of the crowd, and he took a bow in front of the cop, and the cop went wild. And actually, because Jurgen gets it, that if you don't have the cop and you don't have the team together, you got nothing. So you can't have one without the other. If the fans are on board, the team are on board. You know, so like the bond between the team and the fans is so much stronger than it's been for probably ever, to be honest with you. And it was funny. Shank got that. Shank's always said, "You're playing for the people. Don't ever forget that." And I think we missed that for a long time, because I think now Klopp goes, it is there. So actually, the club has to listen. And you know, when they made the mistake about the £77 tickets, like the FSG have made mistakes, but what they've done usually quite quickly is gone, sorry, and then they get better. But they got the likes of Tony Barrett on board. They got people who go to the match. They got people who are fans. They have engaged so much more. They still make mistakes. They do. And he'll always probably make mistakes because they're not real football people in many ways. But they are listening more, and they're endeavouring to do it different. And they're making it a venue to be. You know, so actually, you know, unfortunately, they're probably going to kill a few pubs, but people can have a pint and the kids can play football and stuff like that. But that's a good environment for kids. You know, being in the pub's not always the best, is it? But, you know, I think Liverpool get it now, and they're trying to do the right things. And I like the owners. You know, the FSG out mob are a gang of whatever, and they're Twitter-based, and actually you don't even know if they're Liverpool fans or Man United or Everton. They went very quiet for a while, and then all of a sudden you don't have a transfer, and then go, FSG aren't spending this. You know, look at what they've done, and look at what we've had for 3 or 4 years. Unfortunately, modern football seems to be driven like FIFA. You know, it's like a video game, innit? You know what I mean? There you go. Life doesn't work like that. Liverpool have done amazing. FSG have done really, really well. Klopp gets it, and he wants to get it. He's one of us, because I think I saw something a while ago saying, "What would you be if you weren't a football manager?" He said, "I'd be in there. I'd be an ultra." He'd have been an ultra. He'd have been one of these people creating the atmosphere. He said, "I just love football. I've always loved football." And when you got someone like that, he's driving FSG to do the right thing, because they can't mess with Klopp. He has the power that Shankly used to have. And like, you know, it's the power Brendan Rodgers didn't have. So he didn't have any power to do any of that. He was their man with his, you know, his folder of presentations or whatever it was. But Klopp properly gets it, and he can put his foot down and get what he wants, can't he? So it's a proper exciting time to be a Red. It is fabulous.
Oh man, I'm gonna have a good afternoon now. See,
It's probably nearly night time.
Huh? No,
It's probably nearly night time for you.
no, it's not too bad. It's dinner time for the kiddos, so got to go back in the jungle.
Mine have gone to bed with hope. They were under threat of death that don't come into this room, and Charlie's playing FIFA, and I told him, if I hear you playing FIFA while I'm on the podcast, you're in trouble. It's the quietest he's been for a month.
And again, Keith, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope, you know, when you do get the book ready to come out, you come back on.
Yeah, I'd love to. Absolutely love to.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. It you know, like me and Steve always say, we try to keep our podcast down to like 45 minutes to an hour.
Wasn't happening tonight, was it?
It usually never happens. You know, it just because every guest we have, the stories are just great, and then the banter back and forth. So yeah, our average probably podcast is like what, an hour 45, Steve?
6 hours, isn't it?
Yes. But it's great.
And you listen on the way back.
Yeah, you know, that's a good thing about podcasts. You know, you can go back and like stop it, listen later. You know, if you need to take the dogs out, or you need to go for a loaf of bread.
There you go, like that. You listen to a few podcasts then, can't you?
Yeah, that's what I'll tell my missus next time I'm going for a loaf of bread. I'll listen.
Yeah, you end up at Anfield, yeah.
Keith, thank you very much. You know, we really appreciate you being on here, and whatever we can do to promote your books, we'll get the links to your current book that's still selling.
Thank you.
We'll put that link on our website and on our Facebook page, and then obviously when the new books come out, we'll be your biggest supporter to get the word out for you.
That's lovely, Steve. That's brilliant, mate. And I say, you know, once again, I can't thank you enough. You know, it's a real privilege for people like me to be doing things like this and speaking to people like yourself with the same passion that we all have. And it's like a new gang of mates. Yes. So, you know, when it comes to Austin, I'll buy you all a beer. Not to find it too far, like. Not Glenn, obviously, yeah. Glenn can have it on.
You'll never